Have you ever asked yourself, what happens after we die? Not out of curiosity, but from that quiet, pressing fear that creeps in during moments of stillness. Maybe it arrives at night when the world falls silent and you're left alone with the awareness that everything you are will one day stop. Or maybe it comes in those fleeting seconds when a loved one leaves the room and your mind wanders. What if they don't come back? This question, what happens after death, is not new. It's not a puzzle invented by modern philosophy or psychology. It is perhaps the oldest question a human being can ask. And thousands of years ago, a young boy named Nachiketa asked it with such sincerity that the Lord of Death had no choice but to answer. But let's begin not with Nachiketa, but with ourselves, with the modern soul who lives in a world of deadlines, digital noise, and surface-level connection, where death is both everywhere and nowhere. We see it on screens, hear about it in the news, but avoid looking at it too long. And in doing so, we carry a quiet unease, a background static of fear. We call it stress, anxiety, discontent, but peel back the layers, and at the root of many of our modern problems is the same old fear, that it will all end and we don't know what comes next. Mortality anxiety is not weakness. It is not an irrational fear. It is the inevitable consequence of being aware. The dog doesn't know it will die. The tree doesn't fear the end, but you do. And that knowledge, that burden, is both a curse and a doorway. In the Katha Upanishad, a boy named Nachiketa sees his father offer worthless gifts in a sacred ritual. Disturbed by this empty act, Nachiketa asks, "To whom will you give me?" His father, in anger, replies, "To death I give you." So Nachiketa goes, alone, uninvited, to the house of Yama, the god of death, and he waits. 3 days, without food or water, until Yama finally appears. And what does this boy ask the Lord of Death? He does not ask for riches. He does not ask for power or protection. He asks, what happens to a person after death? Some say they still exist. Others say they no longer are. I want to know what truly happens. Imagine the courage to look death in the eyes and ask not for escape, but for truth. What makes this story remarkable is not just its spiritual depth, but how relevant it is today. Because aren't we all Nachiketa, standing at the door of the unknown, waiting for an answer that might never come? Except unlike him, we don't ask directly. We distract ourselves. We drown the question in noise, scrolling, streaming, scheduling, until the silence is gone and the question buried again. But it returns in illness, in loss, in the quiet moments when life feels too fast to hold. And when it does, we find ourselves staring at the same door, afraid, but curious. What happens after death? The mistake we often make is looking for a concrete answer, a fixed image, heaven, hell, reincarnation, oblivion. But what if the power of the question lies not in the answer, but in the asking? Yama tells Nachiketa, even the gods have wondered about this question, and he tests him, offering pleasures, distractions, a long life filled with comfort. But Nachiketa refuses them all, because he understands something most adults never do, that comfort is not peace, that distraction is not meaning, and that a long life without understanding is still a kind of death. In our time, we are offered the same bargain. Pleasures in abundance, distractions tailored to our desires. We are taught to avoid discomfort at all costs, to fear silence, to fear stillness, to fear the question. But what if, like Nachiketa, we said no? What if instead of hiding from death, we turned toward it, not morbidly but honestly, to ask what it teaches us about living? Because death, whether we like it or not, shapes how we live. It gives urgency to our days, it sharpens the present moment, and it humbles the ego. Think about it. So many of the things we chase, success, recognition, status, are attempts to escape death symbolically, to be remembered, to matter. Legacy becomes a kind of immortality. But legacy is not something we build after we die. It's something we shape while we live, in our actions, our kindness, our courage to be real in a world that prefers masks. The question isn't just what happens after death. it's what happens before it. What are we doing with this small, flickering moment we've been given? There's a parable of a man running from a tiger. He slips off a cliff and clings to a vine. Above, the tiger waits. Below, a snake coils. Then he sees a strawberry near his hand. He picks it, he eats it, and says how sweet it is. This is not a denial of danger. It is a full embrace of life within it. Mortality, when faced, doesn't destroy meaning. It clarifies it. Yama eventually answers Nachiketa, but his answer isn't simple. He doesn't offer a map of the afterlife. Instead, he teaches the nature of the self, that what we truly are is not the body, not the mind, but the witness, the one who observes, who is beyond birth and death. He says the self is not born, nor does it die. It was not created, nor will it ever be. It is eternal, beyond time, beyond decay. To modern ears, this can sound abstract, even esoteric, but consider this. Have you ever watched your thoughts and realized you are not your thoughts? Have you ever been in pain and noticed that some deeper part of you is simply aware of the pain, untouched by it? That is the witness, the stillness behind the storm. It doesn't fear death because it knows death is only a change of form, not the end of being. The body ends, the mind dissolves, but awareness remains. Science may not yet have language for this, but even the most rational minds are beginning to admit there is more to consciousness than we understand. And perhaps what we fear as death is not disappearance, but transformation. Not an end, but a return. Like the wave returning to the ocean, it loses its shape, but not its essence. We are not given certainty in this life, but we are given glimpses. Moments of presence so deep they feel eternal. Love that transcends time. Awareness that watches even grief with quiet clarity. And in those moments we realize we are more than our name, our job, our story. We are the stillness beneath it all. To live with the awareness of death is not to live in fear. It is to live with intention. It is to love more honestly, to speak with less hesitation, to waste less time pretending to be what we're not. Because once we understand that everything ends, we also understand that everything matters. Your words matter. Your silence matters. Your presence, even in a single moment, can ripple through someone else's life in ways you'll never see. That is legacy. Nachiketa's question is not just about the afterlife, it's about how to live now, with clarity, with courage, with depth, not running from death, but walking alongside it as a quiet teacher. So the next time the fear rises, don't bury it. Sit with it. Listen, because in that fear is a doorway. And on the other side, not an answer, but a deeper understanding. Not of death, but of life. If this reflection stirred something in you, pause, just for a moment. Let the stillness settle. Have you ever caught yourself fearing the end before fully embracing the now? Have you ever wondered if your legacy lives quietly in the people you've touched, even in ways you may never know? Tell us. Let's speak the questions most people are too afraid to ask, together. And if you're ready to explore more moments like this, more silence, more meaning, and more of what lies beneath the surface, join us here at Mind Unwoven. We're just beginning to uncover what truly lasts.